1.
My name's Steve Appel, and thanks for tuning in to Work Comp Matters. This week on the show, we talk about the state of the state. Gavin Newsom is governor, in addition to Donald Trump, and additional news stories with Mike, Ted, Robert, and John Scalia, all the way from Germany. We're brought to you by WorkCompCentral.com, A1 Law, and Santa Monica Tickets. Now here's the show.
Stand by SOT1.
Standing.
10 seconds. Ready, rollin'. Ready, SOT1.
Ready.
In 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll in.
From the roundtable at legendary Uncle Studios, welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters, the central location for you employees, you employers, and of course we haven't forgotten about you independent contractors. My name is Steve Appel, and I'll be your host for the next hour with some talk, news, and hopefully some answers about Work Comp Matters. Thanks for being part of the show, and if you can break away from your Work Comp Matters, feel free to give us a call and clue us in with your questions, comments, and or concerns. The phone number worldwide, 818-357-4120. You could send me an email to wcexaminer@aol.com. You can be old school. Send me a fax, 818-475-1437. With me in studio, Dr. Michael Zyma, Mr. Ted Durden, attorney Robert Ozeron. Scott Walton of Uncle Studio is on the board. Back in Munich, Germany, retired attorney John Scalia. Back at Work Comp Central, making sure the whole damn thing goes right, is Kristen Chavez. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters. We are brought to you by the WorkCompCentral.com. If you want the number one location in California and the United States of America for workers' compensation, blogging, news, credits, the whole ball of wax, give us a call. Or, pardon me, look up WorkCompCentral.com. And if you want the number one computer management system used by more workers' compensation attorneys, give me a call at 818-357-4120 for your no strings attached, money back guaranteed, $1 a day, A1 Law. And last but not least, we're brought to you by Santa Monica Tickets. Give Brian a call, 310-395-8587 for your sold-out concert, sports, theater tickets, and he'll give you a 10% discount. Excuse me for that, folks. I didn't do all my hacking before I went on the air. And now, of course, I sound a hell of a lot clearer. Well, you know, it's going to be a wonderful show tonight. We've got the State of the State address and more stories for California employers, employees, and independent contractors. We've got requirements to carry workers' compensation insurance. We're talking about traffic fatalities are in the news. We have wildfire victims for California. Johnson & Johnson has a settlement in their huge lawsuit. We have also Allstate Insurance acquires Cracked, L.A. Men's Central Jail to be torn down, and a whole bunch of other stories that hopefully are of interest to you professionals and people involved, non-professionals in California workers' compensation, employment, and labor. But story hot off the press, and when I first heard this, I went crazy. I mean, I even called Ms. Chavez at Work Comp Central off hours, and that might not have been the best call to do, but I said, I just heard about the Department of Motor Vehicles. 150,000 drivers in the damn state are not getting their driver's license. And I was ready to do the whole damn show. But you know what? Rather than doing the whole damn show, I reduced it down to a little segment on Bryn on the Street. And without further ado, he's a regular contributor to the show, Mr. Daniel Bryn, who's talking about the Department of Motor Vehicles and 150,000 drivers not getting their driver's licenses. Bryn on the Street. Daniel, take it away.
Hey, Steve.
California's Department of Motor Vehicles, which has been maligned for many years as a bureaucratic dungeon where sloth-like tellers send miserable motorists from Station 12 to Station 18 and then back to Station 6 ad infinitum, has suffered yet another blow to its reputation. This week, the Sacramento Bee reported that as many as 150,000 Californians have experienced delays as long as 6 months before receiving their new driver's licenses in the mail. The Bee reports the snafu affects customers who renewed online or by mail between September 2018 and early February 2019 for licenses with an expiration date between January 20th and May 31st. As recent as last week, the DMV believed the problem only affected a few thousand customers. Now it's evident the issue is a lot more serious than previously thought. If you're one of those drivers still waiting for that license to arrive, my suggestion is to take a metaphorical seat and wait patiently for your number to be called. And that's Bryn on the Streets for Wednesday, February 13th, 2019.
Daniel, I gotta love it. Let me ask you, when you were doing your research for this show, I mean, how long has the DMV been effed up?
Oh, forever. I mean, there's so many, one scandal after another. I don't know if you want to call it scandal, but they're clearly overwhelmed. I don't think the motor voter bill helped. I don't think that they are properly funded or staffed to handle all this pressure.
I know that a couple of shows ago we reported on Work Comp Matters, and Ted knows this, that there was some employee who was sleeping on the job for however...
Right.
And eventually they found out and they were on temporary leave. I mean, if you were in the private industry, you would have been fired and out on your ass.
In a heartbeat.
Well, you know, nobody's saying that public employees are perfect, but but we have a pretty good system of civil service, and it just needs to be enforced better. It just needs to be run better.
Do you think that the involvement of the feds requiring? I heard that there was some rule change with a new kind of license. Do you think the involvement of the feds had a lot to do in this snafu that is FUBAR?
Well, I'll tell you, I applied for one of these real ID driver's licenses, and during this period, that was after September, and I didn't have any problems at all. I got mine in the mail promptly. So is this an irregular problem? I'm sure it doesn't help for the feds to have this extra requirement, but I think it'll straighten out over time.
All right, Daniel. Well, once again, thank you very much, Daniel Bryn and Bryn on the Street. Thanks for coming on in to Work Comp Matters. Take care, and we look forward to your next segment.
Thanks, Steve.
And there goes Daniel Bryn on the Street. And, of course, I noticed when Gavin Newsom gave his State of the State address, I don't think he mentioned the Department of Motor Vehicles. Or did he? Did I miss that?
I didn't see it.
I don't remember.
It was a daytime event. So
yeah.
I didn't even listen to it.
He's a good-looking man. You know, I was just commenting. Gavin Newsom is a good-looking guy.
Hollywood.
Yeah, but he's a socialist, and I don't care for socialists.
Well, he definitely doesn't mind spending our tax dollars. And, of course, the title of the show is The State of the State. And with the first news story regarding the state of the state, he's my right-hand man. He keeps me in check and hopefully out of trouble at least 90% of the time. He's the doctor, Mike Zyma.
Okay. Governor Gavin Newsom's State of the State address was a clear pivot in strategy from former Governor Jerry Brown. Where Brown often embraced incrementalism, Newsom is calling for speed. Quote, there are problems that have been deferred for too long and that threaten to put the California dream out of reach for too many, end quote. Now, folks, I don't know what that means. I assume it means spending a lot of dough.
Well, I'm trying to understand. Okay, maybe this astute crowd can educate me. Exactly what is the California dream? Well, what does that mean? Sitting around getting high all day and not having to pay no taxes, not having to work? Is that what that means? Huh?
Did you hear about the freedom dividend that one of the lesser-known Democratic presidential candidates?
Yes, I heard about that.
They just give you $1,000 a month for life.
Yeah, for nothing.
But then you could raise your kids,
for breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've seen the way some folks raise their kids. I'm not a real big fan of that either. So.
Yeah, but with no talk about how to fund it, I just keep going back to that.
Well, he doesn't discuss what it is, right? Specifically, the California dream. I assume.
No.
I assume it implies housing, food, and education.
I don't know. I heard it in a song. I don't know about
California.
anything else.
That's by the Mamas and the Papas,
Yeah,
right?
there you go.
That's old school, baby.
Talking
That
about
would be me.
speed.
Speed.
So it could be concerning. First, I know that he's cutting the high-speed rail, which is a move I
he
agree with.
made a good decision on that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
he did.
Across the table, we think that's a losing proposition, and you gotta, you don't want to chase good money after bad, right?
Right.
So that's a good move.
And at least they get a chunk of it.
But what happens with the money that was already collected for that? There was a ballot measure that had been passed,
Long been
right?
spent, massive cost overruns,
Well,
as I
actually,
understand.
we've talked many times on the show that there's $2.5 billion sitting in the general fund just waiting to be spent for the mentally ill, and I've advocated it should go to the homeless.
Well, that's what I'm wondering is what about any funds that are left over from this high-speed rail boondoggle?
I really don't think there are any.
Okay, but we should know, because if there are,
Sure.
if they've collected tax dollars in relation to this and now it's sitting off to the side somewhere, I don't want it to be used for example, universal health care for anybody who steps foot in California.
Mike and I were talking today about a more federal level about missing money from the Pentagon. They're talking about $5 trillion.
But I don't know what the source of that story
No,
was.
and
Plus,
I have to do research of
Black
that.
military projects probably, things that are off the books.
The bottom
Could be.
line is we're not talking about $1,000 for a
Right.
toilet seat or $900 documented for a wrench. We're talking about over $5 trillion that arguably is missing. But that's for another day. For the next story on work comp matters, I coined the phrase the best dressed man in workers' compensation, Mr. Ted Durden.
The California Labor Commissioner's Office reminds employers they must maintain valid workers' compensation insurance coverage for all workers, including part-time employees. If the Labor Commissioner's Office finds an employer does not have valid coverage for its workers, it can cite the employer $1,500 per employee not covered by valid workers' compensation insurance and issue a stop order prohibiting work until valid insurance is acquired. The employer may be required to pay employees lost wages during the work stoppage. Violation of the stop order could result in additional penalties up to $10,000 and misdemeanor charges. The Labor Commissioner's Office advises employers who purchase insurance with American Labor Alliance and Comp One USA that these companies are not licensed to sell insurance in California. The California Department of Insurance in December imposed a $4.3 million penalty on the companies for selling workers' compensation and liability policies to employers of farm workers without being properly licensed.
I occasionally get calls off the cuff from employers. Steve, when and why and how do I need work compensation insurance? And I think for the past 100 years, the answer has been the same. If you are an employer and you employ at least one employee, you are required by law to have workers' compensation insurance. That's black, that's white. There ain't no gray, folks.
Aren't these penalties like they talk about that I'm sure are statutory?
Well, the penalties have changed throughout time.
$10,000. Has anybody ever heard of such a penalty being imposed on an employer for not having comp insurance?
I haven't.
Is it just theoretical?
I have not.
Well, the next news story of the night, he's my protege. He's been an applicant's attorney extraordinaire for about 6 years. I still remember when he came into my office in the first 6 months of his career. He worked for me, and I taught him everything he knew. But for the past 5.5 years, He knows how to go into a book and research it for himself. He doesn't top sheet. He doesn't trust what other people think. He does his own research. My protege, attorney Robert Ozeron.
Thank you, boss. This is a follow-up on a story I read last year. Traffic fatalities in the U.S. reached an estimated 40,000 people in 2018, the third year in a row in which at least that many people have been killed.
So it hasn't been increasing?
Well, it reached at least 40,000, so it looks like that's the base level there. I don't know if it's been increasing, but it may not be significant as far as changes go. But that's what the article reads.
My name is Steve Appel. You're listening to Work Comp Matters. We're brought to you by theworkcompcentral.com. If you want the number one location for workers' compensation in California and around the United States for your credits, education, blogging, the whole ball of wax, check out workcompcentral.com. And if you want the number one computer management system used by more workers' compensation attorneys than any other system in the damn Kuiper Belt, give me a call at 818-357-4120 for your no-strings-attached, money-back guaranteed, $1 a day, A1 Law. And if you want those hard-to-get sold-out, even front row, concert, sports, theater tickets, give our buddy Brian a call at Santa Monica Tickets for your 10% discount, 310-395-8587 for the next news story of the night. Mike Simo.
A program aimed at helping adolescents get out of abusive relationships is now in demand in Orange County's middle schools. Laura's House, a domestic violence agency in Ladera Ranch, launched HEART, Healthy Emotions and Attitudes in Relationships Today, in 2007. The idea was to bring a Dating 101 presentation to high school and college students to teach them what a healthy relationship looks like, safe and respectful. I think that's pretty cool.
I do too.
Absolutely. I agree. Videos and podcasts published this year on IJTV's Claims Journal channel generated an impressive 50,932 views and listens. Two podcasts on flood coverage highlight the continued focus on a private market.
And I've said it a couple of times on Work Comp Matters that one of my main news sources is the Claims Journal, and I would like to think that story is partially about Work Comp Matters. I mean, if you, according to attorney Howard Kapp, we have a minuscule amount, like about 100 listeners per show. I actually think according to Facebook, it's a little bit higher than that. But I like to think that they are referring to us.
Hundreds of Northern California wildfire victims, desperate for housing and living in recreational vehicles on their burned-out lots, were ordered off their properties Monday after federal authorities threatened to cut off funding for the state's biggest natural disaster cleanup. The Paradise Town Council unanimously rescinded a 2-month-old law allowing residents to live in temporary shelters on their burned-out properties before the lots are cleared and certified safe for habitation. The unanimous vote Monday occurred after an emotional, intense meeting that was the first in Paradise City Hall since the November 8th fire, which destroyed most of the city of 27,000 people.
The Allstate Corporation said it has acquired Cracked, a provider of on-site, on-demand repair services for smartphones and tablets. Scott, how's our time? 18 minutes. Okay, let's go for another news story or two. Go for it. We're flying by the seat of our pants.
Okay, this one's in follow-up to Robert's story. Thrown together as teammates in the new wildfire fight era, California and federal officials have not exactly been getting along. The state's emergency response chief last summer accused the feds of, quote, re-victimizing, end quote, wildfire survivors in Sonoma and Napa counties by allowing cleanup crews to damage property and over-scrape the remnants of homes destroyed in the blazes. And federal officials repeatedly have said the state has done poor disaster fund management. Both sides suggested the other was inviting potential fraud.
Since the show is on the State of a State address, and we've got Gavin Newsom as the new governor, What do all you guys think about Mr. Newsom or Governor Newsom?
I got to tell you, I mean, if I can lead off here, okay, just real quickly, I got to tell you that, you know, I'm a conservative Democrat, and he's, of course, a very liberal Democrat. But I think he's got los huevos.
You think he's tough?
I think he's got los huevos. I'll just leave it at that.
Stands up for what he believes in.
Yeah, and guts, chutzpah, you know, whatever word you want to use, and I think it's a positive thing.
So he just believes in spending a lot of raising the tax dollars and spending a lot of the money.
He doesn't believe like a lot of those other Dems do. What we were talking about, the freedom privilege, where it's $1,000 a month.
Got to speak into your microphone a little bit.
The freedom privilege, one of the lesser-known Dem presidential candidates.
Ted, another conservative Democrat. What do you think?
Well, I didn't vote for him. I even voted for the Republican. I'll be honest with you. I don't like the guy. I don't like socialists. I don't. You know, whether the fact how size his wells are, I could give a rat's ass.
Is Gavin Newsom a socialist?
I believe he is, yes.
Okay.
If he's talking about putting forth a bunch of programs.
That's socialist programs. I mean, that's universal health care for anyone who steps in here. It's socialism within the confines of California.
He wants to make you know, California a harbor for
a refuge. It's a safe state.
Yeah, a sanctuary state.
Yeah.
And I can't get behind that. I just can't. So yeah, I don't care much for him. I don't care how much webbles he has.
Robert?
Well, I just from what I'm heard of about his personal character, I probably wouldn't support him. For me, the personal character is important.
What have you heard about his personal character?
What don't you know about?
That was a pretty long time ago.
Yeah, but
what? He's on his second
statute of
marriage.
limitations
He's on his
passed,
second marriage.
Not on something like that. I believe he slept with his best friend's wife
while he was drunk.
Okay.
No, they had an ongoing relationship. Just from my understanding.
All right.
It takes a lot to betray your best friend and then look him in the face, you know?
Takes huevos.
Oh, yeah. It takes more than that.
Excuse me.
It takes to have a depraved heart, in my opinion. But anyway, so I probably wouldn't personally be friends with the guy. That said, I agree with the first move he made, cutting the funding for the boondoggle that is the high-speed rail. Okay, so would you ask me to separate the two? I don't know if I could. I didn't vote for him. But I will count the scoreboard for what it reads. You know, it doesn't have an emotional scoreboard. It's just a scoreboard. That's the same reason I kind of like Trump now. I didn't vote for him for the general election, but now re-election I probably would. Well, because the scoreboard looks good. You know, that's what the coach says at the end of a football game, right? When the other team's talking trash, you're supposed to just say scoreboard and then just walk out of there.
I, like Mike, did not vote for Trump, but I am not a Trump hater.
Well, my support has grown with the economy, right? With jobs. I like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong about loving America. I love America, right?
There are those that would say he's a sociopath.
Well, look at this. Put it this way. We should talk about the Green New Deal. That's what we should talk about.
You mean the cost of it?
Oh, no. Let's just talk about the parts where it says that if you're unwilling to work, you will get paid as well, right? You guys know about that. But I believe
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
That's in the Green Pact? What did you call it?
Yeah.
Yes, and Mitch McConnell is chomping at the bit to bring that vote
on
the
God.
Senate floor. I cannot remember the last time I saw a picture of him grinning that broadly.
You know, we've got a couple of days before the temporary government shutdown is scheduled to end. They've been talking lately about giving $1.7 billion for the wall.
Well,
or
all I know is that as of this morning, they were pretty. Everybody was saying that it would be passed and signed.
I say there is no
Trump's
way
vetoing
that the government will be shut down again, at least now, at this point in time. I think it would be political suicide.
I think Trump has said that he doesn't agree with the deal that the party came out with there. He doesn't think they have very good negotiating skills. It was just to get along type of deal, and it doesn't serve the interest of the American people.
It's not Trump's decision to shut down the wall. It's Congress.
What?
Because if Congress has a supermajority in both houses, the government gets... Thank you.
Then he's got to go with executive action. He's got to go with executive action.
But you have to understand, now, everything that you said was true, Robert, but Trump also said, I don't think the governor's going to shut down.
He did say that, too. I saw that. So
he did say that.
But he's been playing both sides really well recently, a lot more than he used to.
Well, yeah, he's
been
playing
playing
real
both
close
sides,
to the
that's
vest.
for sure.
And here's what I found interesting about what they put forth for him to sign, is that there are actually detractors within the Democratic Party who thinks that the Democrats gave up too much because they did grant some funding to reinforce fences, to put in the metal slats. What they did say is we will not give any funding to build a large concrete barrier.
Yeah, but the metal slats work.
Right.
And really, it's just about effectiveness, not about design.
And ladies
metal
and
slats
ladies
work?
and gentlemen,
Slats?
what
Well-
are the best settlements in regardless of what field you're in, where both parties walk
Both
away
sides, yeah.
feeling they've given
I'm
up
sure
too
there's
much?
some Republicans.
And
that are-
remember, with government budgets, first year it's $1 billion, second year $2 billion.
Oh, right. It always
we all
goes
know
up.
how this goes.
It always goes
By
up.
the time Trump gets out of office, it's going to be a $20 billion wall with high-speed lasers and all this stuff. I don't know.
Well, the
But-
original price was 25.
Yeah, I like the idea of El Chapo's money. Again, what's so wrong about securing our border? Nothing. It's a crime in other countries to enter their country illegally. Why is it
Well,
not
where
the same?
his
But,
dough is-
but here's the part that everybody keeps missing and nobody talks about. Has anyone? Why doesn't anyone talk about the number of tunnels they find? You know, there are numerous tunnels. So you build a wall. What does it matter if they can just dig underneath?
It's hard.
it?
Look in Israel. Israel, they try to do that, and they find them. They destroy the tunnels. A tunnel job, it takes months to even try to do it.
Okay,
To destroy
and-
it takes 20 minutes.
Yeah, but
So
again,
it's
if
just
they have,
unequal
there are
balance.
such
but if
sections
they
of
have-
Israel that are riddled with tunnels.
but if they have
Correct.
nothing but time on their hands, why not? It's like a man who gets a life sentence.
Well,
Okay, you look at the Count of Monte Cristo. Hey, look, how many years did it take him to tunnel
But
out of that
remember,
dungeon?
presumably, this is just one part of it. We should be watching over the wall, much like Israel does. Okay, it works
Or
in Israel.
watching under it.
Well, yeah, but they have seismic sensors for that. They do. So that's what I'm saying. It takes months to potentially build such a tunnel. It takes 20 minutes to destroy it. Okay, it's just not
they got
an
a tunnel
equal.
to his jail cell underneath his bathtub,
Okay,
right?
but
Right,
these are
exactly,
individual
yeah.
things. We're talking
Tunnel
about the
was a
U.S.
mile
border.
long.
Yeah,
A mile long.
Okay, but we're talking about at the U.S. border here, all right? And we're going to be able to watch it on the other side with infrared cameras. So if they're digging at night, we'll see all these people. We'll see the dirt. They better be digging from far away, too. Remember, we can easily see. So yes, you guys can say tunnels are easy. Go out there, try to
Not
dig
easy,
in your
just
yard,
possible.
okay?
Just
No,
possible.
No, my whole point is that they're already there. There are hundreds of tunnels that are still there. They haven't even discovered them all. I mean, they found one that was what?
Not hundreds.
No, they did.
Well, we don't know, truthfully, right? Because we don't have a secure border. So
I'd say a couple dozen.
So going back to what you said, Mike, when you said, well, do the slats work? I go, I guess so, because they don't go there, but that's because there's a huge gap like to the left of it. Why would you try to go over the fence, right? We don't know if the slats work because there's an enormous gap right there next to it. So you have to secure it first, then see where the problem is. Go back. It's like a water in the roof, right? It's like when it's raining. You got to go to the leak,
Do you think Trump
fix
is
it.
going to sign that?
I have no idea what
I
Trump
believe-
does.
I
Why would
believe
you?
he is. I
Why would you
believe he
predict
is.
what Trump does? I mean, that is
he's
bad luck there.
talk
Yeah, do you
about
think he's going to sign
I
it?
believe he's going to sign it. And even as far as the wall is concerned, there's a certain stretch along the Mexican U.S. border that the terrain is just too difficult to even establish a wall. So there's still going to be porous areas in the wall where if you have anyone that's desperate enough to try to quote unquote have a better life in the United States, they're going to take that risk. Let's face it. You got people on pontoons, on little rubber boats out in the ocean trying to come to the United States, or when they try to go through foliage or woods or whatever in order to get here.
Hopefully, part of this immigration reform is not just a wall. It's so that they could apply in their home countries, so they don't have to make such a dangerous trek, so the girls don't get assaulted on the way
Have
up.
they been negotiating that
They
aspect?
should. I don't know if they talk about it, but they really should. And for the more porous parts of the border where it's very difficult to build a wall, we can go with some sort of electronic, high-speed, we can do drones.
I was just
we
going to
just need
say,
to cover
go,
the parts
go
that are
with some
easy to
motion
do first.
detectors and some
Yeah,
lasers.
that's going to
but
be difficult otherwise. And it's in a day trip. You have to do like infrared, right?
We'll talk about the wall again in the second half or another show. But thanks, guys. Donald Trump and his wall always gets the conversation going. My name's Steve Appel. You're listening to Work On Matters. We're brought to you by the WorkCompCentral.com. If you want the number one location for workers' compensation, both in the United States as well as California, of course, blogging, information, credits, the whole ball of wax, WorkCompCentral.com. If you want the #1 computer management system used by more workers' compensation attorneys than any other system in the damn Kuiper Belt, give me a call at 818-357-4120 for your no-strings-attached money-back guarantee. $1 a day, A1 Law. And last but not least, if you want those hard-to-get, sold-out, even front row concert, sports, theater tickets, give our buddy Brian a call for your 10% discount. 310-395-8587. Well, it's time for John Scalia's segment. He's a regular contributor to the show. He constantly is calling Donald Trump a megalomaniac and a sociopath. And I spoke to a board-certified psychiatrist, and I specifically asked him, based on his public persona, based just on what we hear on the radio, Twitter, on TV, is Trump a sociopath? And the response was 1,000% yes, with his regular segment, John Scalia.
Hi, this is John with the Work Comp International Report from Munich this week. As I said, I'm going to begin each podcast with a Trump take. That'll be a regular feature. Won't take long this week. Donald Trump declared that ISIS, or the revolutionary fundamentalist Muslims, have been defeated in their attempt to impose rule over parts of the Middle East. Well, good luck. As people who remember the Vietnam War can tell him, our military advisors kept saying we had won the war and we could see the light at the end of the tunnel. The light, of course, turned out to be an oncoming freight train, and America left Vietnam with its tail between its legs. Trump would know this if he'd read a paper during the Vietnam War, but I always keep forgetting that while he possibly may have read the business section, in general, I don't think he can read anyway. Okay, what I really want to talk about is the most dysfunctional democracy in Western Europe right now. No, it's not Spain. No, it's not Greece. And no, it's certainly not Germany. It happens to be the United Kingdom. Oh, yeah. Britain, England, the United Kingdom is in the process of leaving the European Union. They left as a result of a vote 2.5 years ago. The voters were given a simple choice. Should England leave the European Union? Well, they had no idea what they were voting about, so they voted, yeah, let's get out. We shouldn't have anybody telling us what to do. And in case you think I'm exaggerating or being elitist, after the vote in which they had voted to leave, the most Googled term in Britain was, what is the European Union? That was after the vote. Okay, so now they're leaving an agreement in which they've been in for 45 years. Part of it was they didn't want the tyranny of the European Court of Justice. You know what? Britain drafted a lot of the rules for the European Court of Justice. So what they're saying is, we don't want our own tyranny. Well, as Americans who were founded in a revolution against them, we can understand that one. But the point is, the biggest problem in this whole process has been the problem of Northern Ireland. Wait a minute. Northern Ireland is part of the island of Ireland. Yes, it is. And it's just a section of it. And if you look at a map, you say that doesn't make any sense. Well, no, it's an English enclave established by the English. Basically, it was a Protestant enclave on the island of Ireland. And it is essentially a province or a colony or whatever you want to call it, but it's not an independent nation. However, for 20 years, there was a civil war. The Civil War resolved with a treaty called the Good Friday Accords, mainly or largely negotiated by an American. That secured the peace. The treaty kept an open border between North and South Ireland and stopped all the shooting and killing. The main Protestant party in Northern Ireland opposed the peace talks. They preferred the killing to go on. Oh, that's the same party that Theresa May, the Prime Minister of Britain, made a deal with in order to stay in power shortly after the Brexit vote. She gave them $1 billion in order to assure their promises that they would vote with her because she needed their 10 votes to form the majority in Parliament. Now, as I said, Northern Ireland was a Protestant enclave. The demographics indicate that by 2021, there's actually going to be more Catholics in Northern Ireland than Protestants. And the Good Friday Accords say that England is supposed to go according to the will of the people. But trust me, it would be toxic for any British politician to suggest that there be a plebiscite in Northern Ireland about independence. By the way, Northern Ireland voted to stay in the European Union. So they can't have a plebiscite, and they've imposed British regulations on Northern Ireland, and they want to make sure that there's free trade. By the way, in case you think I'm exaggerating the role of Protestants versus Catholics here, the Church of England, Anglican Church, is actually the official church of the United Kingdom. That's right. 26 of the bishops are guaranteed seats in the House of Lords. So it is the state church, and it is part of the rule of Northern Ireland. The whole question is, how do you get goods and services across? Well, it's a problem. And in fact, it's not only a problem for Northern Ireland, it's a problem for the United Kingdom. Apparently, in their arrogance, the British forgot that they're an island. So now they're stockpiling medicines, just like a third world country. Why? Because, oh yeah, we're an island. Our medicines mainly come from Europe. So once we're out of the European Union, we may have a problem. So they're stockpiling them. They're also going to have a problem with food because guess why? Oh yeah, we're an island. Our food, lots of it comes from Europe. Yeah, brilliant decision. Anyway, so far, Theresa May has been unable to get anything done. And every time she presents anything to Parliament, it generally gets voted down. However, in British law, they have to leave by the end of March. Right now, nobody can predict what's going to happen. All you can say is, it is an incredible mess. And probably, hopefully, there will be some resolution. Although nobody really knows what it will be or how it will come about. Anyway, that's the view from Europe this week.
And John, thank you very much. Appreciate that as usual. We're going to take a musical break, and we'll be back after this.
How does it feel to be one of the beautiful people? Now that you know who you are, what do you want to be? And have you traveled very far, far as the eye can see? Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man too. You keep all your money in a big brown bag inside a zoo. What a thing to do. How does it feel to be one of the beautiful people? How often have you been there? Often enough to know. What did you see when you were there? Nothing that doesn't show. Baby, you're a rich man. Baby, you're a rich man too. You keep all your money in a big brown bag inside a zoo. What a thing to do. Storms on WorkCom Matters. My name is Steve Appel. We're brought to you by theworkcentral.com. If you want the #1 online location for all of your workers' compensation news, blogging, education credits in California and around the United States of America,
contact theworkcompcentral.com. We're also brought to you by A1 Law. If you want the #1 computer management system used by more workers' compensation attorneys than any other system in the damn Kuiper Belt, give me a call at 818-357-4120 for your no-strings-attached money-back guaranteed. $1 a day, A1 Law. And if you want those hard-to-get, sold-out, even front row concert, sports, theater tickets, give our buddy Brian a call for your 10% discount at Santa Monica tickets. 310-395-8587. Who's got the next news story?
I'll take it. International Business Machines fell short in its latest attempt to prove machines can triumph over humanoids.
That's IBM for all of you that don't know.
But it came close. The tech giant's 6-year-old artificial intelligence debating system, affectionately dubbed Ms. Debater, went head-to-head with one of the world's most decorated practitioners Monday. After a 25-minute rapid-fire exchange about preschool subsidies, during which the female-voiced artificial intelligence showed flashes of very Homo sapien humor, the audience handed the victory to 31-year-old Harish Natarajan.
You know who's really, I shouldn't say who, the field of employment that is really starting to be infiltrated by artificial intelligence is the medical field. There are programs coming out in association with WebMD where rather than spending the money to go to urgent care or seeing a doctor, you're going on the computer, or rather than seeing a doctor, you're going into an urgent care, you're being put in front of a computer screen, and then it inputs all of the information that you would normally put on the clipboard, and then it gives you a diagnosis. What do you guys think about artificial intelligence coming into the medical field?
Sounds like a good idea, but needs to be always checked by a human, of course.
Absolutely, without question.
I agree, 100%. I mean, it's been going on for decades. You know, where you have some robotic arms that perform certain very delicate surgery that requires infinite precision.
The grape. Everyone knows the grape.
I don't know the reference. What do you mean?
I don't know the grape either.
The Da Vinci surgical unit on the grape. There's a video floating around the internet where this
Tell me more.
They cut the skin off the grape.
Right.
Just the skin.
That's it.
Not the meat of the grape.
Right.
Right.
So this is a very delicate procedure.
Right.
And then they sew it back on.
And
really?
This is done all computerized with no.
It's a robotic arm that does.
Not seen that.
Tiny little robot arms.
Right.
Very tiny
It's
little robot
unbelievable. Yeah.
So-
Who's making those machines? Are they made in the U.S.?
The Da Vinci robotic system, I think I knew a guy who was like selling them to hospitals. They cost $1 million a piece. They're
Right.
not profitable apparently or something like that.
No.
But I mean,
Yeah,
it is
anyway.
an over-engineered product, right?
Right.
And if you're, I guess, a really rich hospital, you got a lot. Why wouldn't you get one? That's a cool
See the
selling
sign
machine.
there, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know how the hospitals are running financially, but you guys need to watch that video. I would suggest it.
It's unbelievable. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've watched it.
It makes you think that
several
if you ever want a surgery, I want that robot working on me,
Right,
right?
right.
Because how many sutures does it put into that grape skin? And probably 15. It's tiny sutures. And it's perfectly back in place, right? So it would be kind of like a plastic surgery almost.
I would think that the cost of the machines are going to come down, just like color TVs, back in my day used to be out of reach. But
Yeah,
I thought
that
all
could be a great demand for what I would
all
imagine.
electronics come down in price as they get more proficient.
And the machine would likely limit scarring, right? When you,
Sure, yeah.
The point of having multiple tiny sutures would be to close the wound in a more orderly fashion, more neat way. And that's what it looks like the machine can do. And it would be really cool if you would go into an emergency room and you had something that requires stitches, like let's say an athletic young guy would get, right? I used to get a couple cuts here and there that required a trip to the emergency room, right? You got to stitch them up. And it'd be really cool if it was a Da Vinci robot and you don't have any scarring, but usually it's just whoever's on call and they just try to keep it clean.
Right.
Well, that technology is going through the stratosphere. We'll probably have robotic surgery teams in 5-8 years.
And, of course, we know that Uber and Lyft, their goal within 5 to 10 years is to remove all of the humanoid drivers and just have them as self-driving cars.
And we've been talking about on this show how the machine and man are starting to mix together, right? The meld between, what would you call it? The singularity, right?
Yeah.
I think we had that about a year and a half
Call
ago.
it bionics.
Yeah, but it was the title of our show like 2 years ago, right?
They are currently putting computer chips onto people's bodies, on the brain, etc.
I look forward to the day that they can cure blindness, right? To people who can see, bionic eyes with an implant to the brain.
They're probably working right along on that.
They've been working on it for quite some time.
MIT or someplace crazy like that, they probably
no doubt.
And
want to show you.
And as also for people's hearing. I don't know if anybody knows anybody who has.
Well, with the cochlear implants,
Correct.
they're steadily, as far as accuracy, how miniature they're becoming now. So yeah, absolutely, definitely.
Yeah, because I think everybody kind of knows somebody who has a hearing issue or a couple of them, and we always want, we just wish them well always. And anytime you're injured or somebody else has an injury or a disability, you always wish that was the specific one that can be cured.
Sure.
Should I do a news story, Steve?
You should.
The Los Angeles County supervisors narrowly approved a plan Tuesday to tear down the dungeon-like Men's Central Jail downtown and build at least one mental health treatment facility in its place. The new plan modifies a $2.2 billion proposal that would have created the Consolidated Correctional Treatment Facility, which was slated to house 3,885, quote, inmate patients, end quote, in a rehabilitation-focused center in the footprint of the Central Jail, which was built in 1963.
Here comes another typhus outbreak. Did you guys hear about the typhus outbreak in
No.
City Hall?
Oh, City Hall.
Yeah.
The fleas on the rats.
The fleas on the
vermin.
rats. This is twofold. One, it has to do with all of the homeless that are sleeping around City Hall. There was a recent typhus outbreak, about between 125 and 150 documented cases on Skid Row. Now, all of a sudden, we find out that City Hall in downtown L.A. is infested with rats. And they supposedly just recently contacted expert exterminator to go through room, hallway, doorway to find out what's going on. My question is, how come this wasn't taken care of a long time ago? How long has City Hall been infested with rats? You not only have hundreds of people working there, but thousands of people going through City Hall every day being exposed to rats,
What I
fleas,
read was
typhus, the whole ball of wax.
There was victim number one, apparently, at least within the building itself, about 15 months ago, contracted
An
typhus.
attorney working for the city.
And she reported it, and they said, nah.
They didn't believe
They didn't believe her.
Right.
And now, guess what? She's no longer. Oh, and she was like an attorney representing the city.
I think she returned
against
to work.
against ACLU types of cases, really big profile cases. Now she's been relocated to LAX, the LAX building, or defending the city attorney's office down in LAX, and she's working on minimal cases.
So you're saying she was demoted?
Arguably, she was demoted.
I didn't hear that.
Well, you think they wanted to keep this quiet?
No question about
Sure,
it.
they probably
Typhus
did.
outbreak, they wanted to keep quiet, huh?
Typhus is medieval.
Yeah.
That goes back
Do you guys think a
hundreds of
public health
years.
emergency is a good reason to enforce the laws that are already on the books regarding
Gavin
homelessness, or at least
Newsom
get
They're
some
not
addressed
new
even
in his
mentioning it
State
in
of the State
connection
address.
with. They're not even mentioning it in connection with homeless. As they're delivering the news feed on it, they're just saying that City Hall is effed up.
Yeah, and then right next door, you see a camp of homeless people throwing,
Feces.
Yeah, I didn't want to use those words, but
Well,
yes,
use
human
feces,
waste,
and-
needles,
yeah,
drugs,
food, just all their trash.
which collect rats.
Correct,
Right,
and then the rats
absolutely.
look for a building to infiltrate, and there you go.
Yeah, they
okay.
seek shelter wherever they can.
This is filth. This is just total filth.
Well,
It's
what they need to
disgusting.
do is, frankly, shut the building down for about a week and nuke it.
They need to do something.
Nothing can't be cured with fire. Unfortunately, nothing also lives through that.
I mean, talking about the chemicals, you put a bag over it. I know it's a big bag, and you throw the chemicals in there. That's the only way to do this.
Well,
you got to get
before
rid
you
of
do that, you better clean up the trash outside.
Well, you also have to get rid of all of the carpet.
Well, sure. But you have to clean up the trash outside. You can't just do the building itself and have a huge pile of waste right next door.
Because they'd be back.
Correct. It's pointless. You have to figure out what to do with the root problem. If we don't figure out what to do with the root problem, it's just insanity.
Well, Garamendi has
it's
not...
It's insanity, just doing the same thing over and over and not knowing why.
Garamendi's the mayor, right?
Isn't it a yoga guy? Garcetti?
Yes.
Garcetti. Excuse me.
Yoga
he hasn't said anything about this.
He's too busy namasteing it up over there in Malibu. Oh my gosh! Someone needs to go over and do some work over there.
Is he in?
Well, he's not running for president.
Yeah, he said he wasn't going to run for president, right?
Well, he should. He should leave, run out of town, because if he's just building,
I just think
filthy.
it's interesting that he's been silent on this.
It's his building. That's filthy.
I know.
No responsibility whatsoever.
I predict he will run for lieutenant governor in 4 years.
That's probable.
Gavin Newsom gets reelected. He gets.
I want to elect a janitor next time as mayor. Okay. Someone with janitorial experience.
Well, it is a valuable experience.
Oh my gosh, it actually is.
Especially down in
City
Hall.
And we're missing all the basics down there. So let's start from square one.
How about Assemblyman Ozeron?
You know what? If they would clean up the trash,
you don't want to take a pay cut.
I don't want to sit foot in downtown. It's so disgusting. Okay, I would make the order to clean it up from here, from the studio. All right, and show me photos before I go over there. I'm not taking such a job. Who would? It's awful. And you know what is? We're harming the people that we supposedly want to help. The ACLU, we love these homeless people. Don't violate their rights. How dare you force pills down their throat? But to leave them in their own filth, that's fine. Get typhus on your own, no problem. Here's a needle. Right?
Hey, look, if you're a midget,
what are we doing to each other?
If you're a midget and you want to engage in midget bowling, that's your right.
Yeah, it's just... What are we doing to each other out here? It's you. Truthfully, this is why it always starts at home. All you can do is take care of yourself and your own. That's it.
Absolutely right.
Well, what would you do with the homeless population down there, Robert?
Well, first I would look up which laws are on the books we can enforce. Okay, and if they're not adequate, and looks like we're going to have to create a think tank to get some new ones on the books, I'm pretty sure public health emergency would qualify just about any time.
Actually, Gavin Newsom in his State of the State. He elected the mayor of Sacramento as a new person in his cabinet.
He appointed her.
He appointed him
to
deal specifically with the homeless. He's going to put together a budget, if he hasn't done it already, specifically for the homeless. Ted, you've got the next news story.
A man who was choked unconscious by an off-duty Los Angeles, California firefighter who saw him handing out Halloween candy to children will receive $7.4 million to settle a lawsuit, his attorney announced Wednesday. Samuel Chang suffered a traumatic brain injury, nearly died, and still has medical problems from the 2015 attack that was captured on video, attorney David Ring said. Does anybody remember why he attacked a guy?
I know David Ring. He's a very good attorney.
No, but if you're caught on video, forget it. Lights out.
Well,
no, right, yeah.
But
I know.
Doesn't it sound a little suspicious, handing out candy to children on the street, not in your home in Halloween? I don't know. I don't know the facts, but it's written in such a way that
I guess the firefighter thought that the guy was attacking or harming the children.
If you choke someone to the point where they've got permanent brain damage, I think you've choked them a little bit too long.
Right.
Let me ask you this. If the guy really was, as the firefighter may have thought, let's just use the pedophile word because that's what probably he was thinking, right? If he was thinking that and he was right, now do you care as much?
You're allowed to use reasonable
Thank
force.
you, Mike. Mike just said, then I don't care about this guy.
No, I don't.
Then, he's a vegetable, he's dead, who cares? Let's move on.
No.
Right? But we don't know that, right? We think that probably maybe he was a reasonable guy, maybe, and some sort of incident occurred where the firefighter misinterpreted something. And
I'd certainly have to have more facts.
we have to get
more.
This is one where
more facts.
This is one where we could either agree with the verdict or be care less if the guy's dead.
Right.
So we have to know about this one.
There you go. Robert, you've got the next news story.
I did find it funny, though, that if that was true, all of our opinions change.
Absolutely.
So be it. Sorry.
Santa Clara County, this is number 10. Santa Clara County is proceeding with the purchase of O'Connor Hospital in San Jose and St. Louis Regional Hospital in Gilroy, despite uncertainty generated by California Attorney General Xavier Becerra's efforts to block the sale and a recent vote by nurses at 2 hospitals to authorize a strike. The Board of Supervisors on Tuesday approved funding for the salaries and benefits of the hospital's employees and rose the spending cap on legal expenses related to acquiring the facilities to $2.05 million.
Now, for those of you that don't know, and I know Mike knows this, I've always wanted to go to Gilroy, California.
Gilroy.
So, yeah, right. So, Ted, Robert, do you know what Gilroy, California is worldwide famous
Garlic.
for?
Sorry.
I said you knew. Oh, my goodness.
Once the dementia kicks in,
Falling
I'm sorry.
asleep on me or something?
Nice.
Gilroy, California is the garlic capital of the world.
Of the world?
Yes.
Yeah.
Gilroy, California, and I've always wanted to go, and I've never been.
You think it'd be somewhere in Italy, right?
You would, but it's not.
I've probably been there 100 times.
Really?
Well, because it's on the way to and from where we go in San Francisco.
So I assume you get the garlic bread, the garlic everything.
They have garlic wine and garlic ice cream. It's nuts.
You get garlic that's twice
cream.
as big as your fist, okay?
Garlic's good for you, right?
Garlic
Oh,
wine.
yeah, it's exceptional for you. Absolutely.
You should taste the
absolutely.
garlic wine.
Really?
Well, I mean, it's very, very strange stuff. It has a very strange taste to it.
Is it garlicky?
Yeah.
That's probably what it tastes there. You're like, it's not
It's
normal
like,
wine. What
you
does
know,
this taste
I don't
I'm
know. I
tasting?
can see how somebody, like with certain foods, maybe,
But
you could drink some of it. Garlic
I don't
wine.
know.
If you guys have never been to a restaurant called the Stinking Rose.
Oh, I have.
yeah.
Okay,
Right.
okay. So
Everyone's
the
been
local,
there.
The local one is on Restaurant Row in La
Right.
Cienega, and they have one in San Francisco. Highly recommend the Stinking Rose.
They do this
Everything
thing
is with garlic.
with the
Yeah, go ahead.
garlic where it's kind of like cooked, but then you can like just turn it into a paste. It's
Yeah,
still in
right,
its
exactly.
thing.
Yeah,
but
it's roasted. It's like roasted garlic.
It's roasted, and then
Right.
but they roast it perfectly, and they put it in like a oil or something as well.
Yeah.
Very nice, and then
Absolutely.
you just paste it.
So what do you get? Steaks there usually?
Anything you want, steaks, chicken, the whole ball of wax, but everything comes with
Everything
garlic.
is made with
And
garlic.
You
I like
walk
steak with
in
garlic.
the door and you get this garlic smell that just is going to permeate your skin and clothes for the next 2 weeks.
If anyone doesn't know, we're making this show right before dinner time. So I think pretty much everyone around the table now wants a steak with garlic.
There you go. There you
I
go.
know that's what I want now.
A bottle of ballsy red wine to go with that.
Oh man, we should be eating while doing this.
I know that's right.
You wouldn't be able
King's
to.
table.
My name is Steve Appel. You're listening to Work Comp Matters. We're brought to you by the WorkCompCentral.com. If you want the number one location in California as well as the United States for workers' compensation, blogging, entertainment, your credits, your education, contact the WorkCompCentral.com. We're also brought to you by A1 Law. If you want the number one computer management system used by more workers' compensation attorneys than any other system in the damn Kuiper Belt, give me a call at 818-357-4120 for your no-strings-attached money-back guarantee, $1 a day, A1 Law. And last but not least, we are brought to you by Santa Monica Tickets. If you want those number one sold-out concert, sports, theater tickets, give our buddy Brian a call for your 10% discount at 310-395-8587. Well, it's been another fantastic show, and I want to thank everybody for coming in. Coming up in 3 weeks is John McNeely. And then, without question, boy, did I get fantastic news, guys, within the past 24 hours. Coming up in 2 weeks, February 27th, attorney Saul Allweiss. That is one you're not going to want to miss. For the chief of staff and my right-hand man, keeping me in check and out of trouble at least 90% of the time, Dr. Michael Zyma. For the best-dressed man in workers' compensation, Mr. Ted Durden. For my protege, attorney Robert Ozeron. For Uncle Studio, Scott Walton on the board, taking care of the technical difficulties back in Munich, Germany, retired attorney John Scalia. And back at Work Comp Central, all of the good people that continue to support and approve of this project, including, but not limited to, Kristen Chavez. My name is Steve Appel. We'll see you again next week for another edition of Work Comp Matters.